through a biblical perspective, you understand everything. If you don't, you won't know. Now, why is that important? Well, one, let me say this. Pastors back in the day did election sermons. Okay? Before the government got inside the church, because, what do you call it? The Johnson Act, the Johnson Amendment, oh yeah, you can't talk about things, so we're going to shut the pastor up. And pastors willfully did this. We're not going to talk about this stuff. We're not going to talk about what's happening in the world. We're not going to look at things. We're going to obey the master. The master is God, not the government, okay? So they stopped doing these election sermons. So today is kind of an election type sermon, but not the way you think it will be. Now, that being said, when I chose the songs for what we were going to sing today, all right, I had no idea that the newsboy said, "Make a way for the King is coming." This is what this sermon is about. All right, the King is coming. Jesus is coming. The end times we're at the beginning. It's all falling in line. The King is coming, and in the middle of the song he says, "An awakening is coming." Well, that awakening is here, and this is what I've been telling you for weeks. I've been telling you, this is the spirit in people today. This is the spirit in our culture today. This is the spirit in the church today, and these are truths that aren't preached on. They're not preached on. So when it happens in your life with an aunt or a parent or a sister, you don't understand these things, okay? And pastors don't understand these things, but an awakening is coming. Well, that awakening is here. Now, why is it important to teach lessons like I'm fixing to put out and put in front of you? Because the Bible says in the end times, and it says the Antichrist is already in the world. The spirit of the Antichrist is in the world. So the first week is a spirit that's on a person. That's that narcissistic, dividing. Y'all see it in our press. Y'all see it in our news. Y'all see it in the White House. You see it in our politics and our government. There's a spirit on the culture where nobody cares about one another. Nobody loves one another. Everybody's backstabbing and lying. Then there's a spirit on the church, okay, where Jesus says, you're wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. That spirit that's on the church where that people are being deceived by demons and pastors are deceived and they're changing the word. But this is the spirit of delusion. This is the spirit of the end times that Jesus says that people are going to fall prey to. Christians are going to fall prey to because we've got no discernment. Okay? We've got no discernment. We have no biblical knowledge. We don't see the world through the eyes of God. I'm going to show you all that. I'm going to repeat some of this. And so we're completely lost. Well, the big delusion, all right, Jesus says in the end time, the Antichrist is going to come. But what is that delusion that's going to fool people? Well, if you've been to Bible school, you've been to seminary, you kind of have a little bit of an idea. And I was sharing this with Sarah on the phone the other day, is who is the Antichrist? What? He's going to have a government. We see the globalist government. He's going to have a religion, war religion out there, that that is hostile to God, hostile to Jesus, to Christianity. You start connecting the real dots. There were two brothers in the Old Testament. All right, Abraham had a kid with the servant, the maid. All right, Ishmael. All right, and then he should have listened to God and trusted God, but he didn't. They did it their way. Then his wife gets pregnant in old age. And they have a child. What was his name? Isaac. Now, when the Jewish people say, we are the children of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Okay, what they're saying is that's the line of Jesus. Who was the one that got the birthright in that family? It wasn't Ishmael, which was actually the first. It was Isaac. What happened to Ishmael? He got angry. But God didn't destroy him. God says, I'm going to give you I'm going to make you a nation of your own. God reached out to him. God called him. God asked him to forgive. And he didn't. Who did the Ishmaelites become? Modern day Muslims. When you have radical Muslims, as they're called in the news, and they're angry, and they're anti-Christian, and they're beheading Christians, that's something we're going to deal with before this is all said and done. Okay? So what's the big delusion? What is the big delusion that's going to fall on people? Well, if you go to their Bible, the Quran, and their supporting documents, if you go back to the history, even Muhammad himself says he was possessed in his own words. It was a demonic thing. In his writings, when Jesus comes back, Jesus is going to descend, just like our Bible says he's going to descend. His name's going to be Jesus. And everybody's going to watch him descend. But is that the true Jesus? No. Or is that the delusion? And here's the deal. If I'm not here to tell you the truth and I don't know the truth myself, how do you know who is the real Jesus and who is not? Unless we get the Spirit of God back into Christians and back into the church, we're not going to know. How many pastors are not the real thing? How many people do we follow that aren't the real thing? And how many times does the Bible warn us there's false prophets, there's false teachers, there's false until we figure out that there is a delusion. And who do you believe today? Who do you believe in politics today? Who do you believe? Who's right and who's wrong in every argument? If you can't find the Spirit and you don't have discernment, we got issues. This is what this sermon is about. Okay? Some of you are going to just, at the end of the sermon, you're going to go, you're going to have to go home and process for a week, a month. I'm just telling you. If you have no idea, you're going to have to process. All right? I have an advantage of being a pastor. I have an advantage of being the kind of Christian I am. But the real advantage I have is the connections to the government. Being 20 years in the military and then working the last few years with those who have been collecting the data, those who have exposed a lot of things that are coming out now and are going to be coming out. When you realize that our world leaders, our government leaders, that the vast majority of them are Luciferian. What's Luciferian? They're devil worshippers. When the witches cast their spells against Kavanaugh, they charged $30 a person to get in. Where did the money go? Planned Parenthood. So witches cast spells, demonic spells on a Supreme Court justice, and they did it on Trump, and they did it then too, and they've done it every month against Trump since he's been elected. If they're calling on the devil, and they're giving their money to Planned Parenthood who are sacrificing children, connect the dots to the Old Testament, that's Moloch. Why do they want to keep Planned Parenthood? Why do they want to keep abortions? It isn't about a woman's legal right to whatever, because you can do whatever you want. It is between you and God. But why do people in their governments and in the world want to make this happen? Because every child that is sacrificed is an offering to their God. And when you realize this, and when all this comes out, when all the truth is laid out and you can't deny it, you can go, man, I was deceived. I've been living under a delusion. So this sermon is about what you do with it can be up to you. But from the military side, from the government side, from the work I did, and a lot of people here were here when I was bringing that data on Saturday nights and Sunday mornings and showing all the data on the child sacrifice stuff, the child sex stuff, and who's doing it, why's doing it. This is the data I collected. When you see that they take crazy people and they pay them and they get them to shoot up schools, would that really happen, Jim? Could all this stuff we're seeing be staged? Yeah. They paid all the protesters to picket and they paid all the rioters in Baltimore. I mean, you can prove that. This world's evil. And when the Christian finally realizes this world's evil, and what has control over people's minds can be evil, it will wake you up. That's what I hope this sermon does. The title of the sermon is War in the Heavenlies. That was taken from the song, kind of War in the Heavenlies. There is a war going on. Let me turn this bad boy on, see if it's going to work. I'm not going to be doing as much speaking today. I'm going to be showing several videos, and you'll see. This was Cristobal. He's the head coach of the University of Oregon. He said this Saturday morning in the newspaper. It says, one of the biggest things I'm supposed to do for our players is to eliminate the clutter, to get the junk out of the way so they can use all of their God-given ability and play hard and fast as they can. That's the job of a pastor. That's the job of a pastor. Supposed to have. Get rid of the clutter, let you see the truth of what's happening in you, what's happening in the world, what's of God, what's of the devil, and when the clutter's out of the way, now you deal with the facts. That is my purpose. And also to help God teach us how to heal people, and then teach you how to use your own personality, your own temperament, your own life experiences to let God use you the way He designed you, the way your life has been leading you to be used. Now, with that being said, all right, hit that light, my friend. Thank you, Bobby.
The one I just got up? 3.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, it should be set just to click on it. Oh, it's going to work.
It'll work. I'll get it.
It's going to work. Come on. All right, here we go.
They updated this in the change.
This is why I needed the laptop. Go ahead, hit them all. Hit them all. Some of y'all recognize this movie?
This is it. Let me give you one piece of advice. Be honest. He knows more than you can imagine.
At last. Welcome. As you no doubt have guessed, I am Morpheus.
It's an honor to meet you.
No. The honor is mine. Please, come, sit. I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole.
You can say that.
I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up. Ironically, this is not far from the truth. Do you believe in fate, Neil?
No,
Why not?
because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life.
I know exactly what you mean. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Matrix.
Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Follow me.
Yeah, just do the back view because we'll. How many people have never seen that movie? I actually never saw it until about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
What? I have a whole series.
Yeah.
You watch all?
But I know the premise, and Robert actually did a sermon on it once before too. But I know from day one that things aren't what they really are. I was in the military. I know what you were told in the news about what we were doing overseas. I know what I read. I know what I was a part of. I know what I saw. And I also know a lot of times, oh, God is all love, love, love. Everything is love. Just love, love, love. But where is the rest of the Bible? Where is the whole counsel of God? And why isn't it being preached? Why aren't churches prepared for what's to come? What if you woke up tomorrow morning or next week or a month from now and realized everything you thought you knew was different? Was not what you thought it was? I have a funny feeling that's going to happen very soon. But The Matrix, and this is just a movie, and the thing is pastors who tore this apart and did sermons on them back in the day, dude, this is a classic, not only in the world, but it's a classic among pastors. Because it is actually written in a way that if you know how to dissect the Bible, you know how to dissect life, you come to the truth and the reality of what truth is. And that's where I want to go today. It ain't so much about the movie. But how many the Bible tells us over and over that we're captives. We're captives. Our minds are captives. Renew our mind. And we hear that the truth will set you free, right? I'm the way, the truth, and the life. You guys know the verses. And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. What truth is that verse referring to? Is that just you get saved? Is that only about salvation? But he says, what truth? What truth? What truth? What truth? If there are two things that I know to be true or real. All right, that there is good in the world, and it is from God. All right? And there is evil, and it's evil even if it masquerades itself as good. All right? And for those things that are evil, those things and those people will answer to God one day. I know that. All right? Galatians 6:7, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. You know? And when the church realizes that we just don't go to church, but there is a war between good and evil, heaven and hell, that there is a war, the Bible says, in the heavenlies right now, all right? And that this big cosmic battle, which we don't see sitting in church or in our jobs, we think the enemy is the person across from us, or our family member, or our church person, or whatever. But there's something else going on. With the war in the heavenlies, Ephesians 6:10 and 11, finally, be strong in the Lord and in His mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. How many people have heard that? How many people have heard that at least 1,000 times probably or more? Yeah. You've been there, Shelley. You've heard it. You used to hear it about 100 times every day. But she needed strength, and she used that as strength. I get that. It says, be strong in the Lord. Put on the full armor of God, that you, Christian, can take your stand. But here's the question. It says, against the devil's schemes. What are the devil's schemes? Since you've heard this 1,000 times, tell me identify for me the devil's schemes. Not generally. I want you to show me in life, today, in your marriage, today, in your family, today, in this church, today, where are the devil's schemes? You can't. You can generally say, well, that my enemy is the devil's schemes, and well, what did the government do? What are the devil's schemes? Help me understand. Is the Bible talking about where you get on the internet and you want to click on that link you shouldn't click on, or go to that site you shouldn't go to? Is that the devil's schemes? Could be. What are the devil's schemes? Put on the whole armor of God, so you may take your stand against devil's schemes. Nobody wants to take a chance on that? Is there a real evil in this world?
Yes.
Is there a real devil in this world? So if there's real evil in this world, devil, then somebody worships him. Where is it? This happened this week. I don't know if y'all saw this. Forrest, go to the next slide and click play. The devil's schemes. This happened this week at an elementary, middle school. Listen.
Allegedly planning to use to kill their classmates and then eat their flesh. And the plan thwarted thanks to a robocall. ABC Action News reporter Melissa Mahadeo is live for us tonight in Bartow. Melissa, parents are horrified and concerned at this one.
Yeah, very much so. We spoke with several parents who either picked their kids up early or just plain let them stay home today after hearing those details of a plan that police say an 11 and 12-year-old admitted to making. A butcher knife, pizza cutter, scissors. These are some of the weapons an 11 and 12-year-old brought to Bartow Middle School on Tuesday to allegedly kill classmates.
They wanted to kill at least 15 people. And were waiting in the bathroom for the opportunity to find smaller kids that they could overpower to be their victims.
Extra officers were already on campus after another student reported concerns on Monday. But police tell us the plot was foiled only after one of the girl's mother called in when a robocall said she skipped school.
This is horrific, and if I had children in school, I'd be scared to death.
Officers found them in the bathroom with a goblet on hand to reportedly drink their victim's blood. I mean, how can this happen, We are afraid, and she's afraid.
Kind of feel like maybe it might be a good idea just for Sunday schools to maybe even put in metal detectors.
Messages appear to show the girls planned the murders and even to kill themselves when it was done.
I'm going to call them small children, I'm 11 and 12. Seriously sat down and thought to do serious bodily harm to another student in school.
Is that not crazy or what?
Tell the cops shook it up.
Yeah, how do you comprehend that a 11-year-old, a 12-year-old kid, girls, were going to kill 15 of their classmates and eat their flesh and drink their blood? What? Oh, here's the deal, though. Is that the devil's schemes, or is there something more going on? Where do they even get that knowledge? On the internet? Family? What's going on here? See, hidden from society's view is the Luciferian society, and we know them. People talk about the Illuminati, right? Right? The Bible refers to them as the One World Order, the Antichrist thing. We know them as some deep state, the cabal. This spirit is of the Antichrist, and it's hidden from view. And if you've been around here, you've known about this for years because, when it shows itself, I pointed out, it's real and it's out there, and it isn't little girls in a bathroom. It's on a much bigger global level. And West Virginia, I can't believe that. Did you read Revelation? Did you read Daniel? Have you read Ezekiel? Have you been to Zechariah? Hello! This is where we're going, to where this is going to happen. To where what ISIS was doing, killing Christians, is that if you're a Christian, you're going to be beheaded. Unless you swear allegiance to the Antichrist. This is going to happen. And we're going down that rabbit hole. And where am I going with this?
Allegedly planning to use to kill their classmate.
Isaiah 5:20, woe to those who call good, who call evil good and good evil, who pour darkness for light and light for darkness. That is what the government has been doing for us for at least the last 40 years, and really bad the previous 8. Before, you'd go to jail for going into a girl's bathroom. Now it's legal for you to go to a girl's bathroom. It used to be you could stand on your Christian values, but now you go to jail if you stand on your Christian values because you didn't bake a cake. There is evil in this world, and it has controlled our minds. When I can watch the news and know that 99% of what I'm hearing is wrong because of my contacts and where I stay glued in, and through looking through the Bible tells me that's the delusion, that's evil, and everybody's, oh yeah, okay. After the election in 2016, CBS did a poll, and one of those polls I put out the Sunday after the election when Trump won, CBS poll. It was just in the fine little print, all right? But 70, it was like 68%, but 7 out of 10 Democratic voters, not people, these are actual voters, when they polled them coming out of the polling house, they believed Christianity was more evil, more violent than radical Muslims. I haven't known a Christian to kill anybody for their faith. But when you hear it every day on the news, you bombarded with it, sooner or later, that propaganda becomes the way it is. How is it that Christians, I don't get it. Evil. Now, a guy that said this is an indictment of the church and Christian community as a whole, that evil would be replaced for good, and good for evil, and we don't stand for much. But here's what happened in the election. The only reason Donald Trump was elected was the Christian community. He got more of the Christian community's vote than any other president ever in history before that. This isn't a Republican Democratic thing. Just go with me. Just follow me. But this indictment of the Christian community, most of us don't realize, we don't understand the devil's schemes. If you control Hollywood, if you control the media, if you control the radio, if you control what you're listening to, if I control it, I'll make you believe whatever I want you to listen to. I'll make you believe whatever I want you to believe. I will show it, and you will see it. And in Revelation 3, Jesus told the church, Christians, the church today, you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. All right? And we don't know that we have no idea that we're as blind as the world, and we don't even care. I've been in church my whole life. I know what's going on. No, you can repeat what you heard, but do you know what's going on? The true condemnation of Christians today, we are bound by the flesh. You know what I'm saying? If me and Jeff got in an argument today, and half took his side, half took my side, why did you take my side? Did God tell you to take my side? Did God tell you to take his side? Oh, I can frame it any way I want. He can frame it any way he wants. Or the government can frame it on the Republicans, and the Democrats can blame the Republicans. The Republicans blame the Democrats. What do you believe? Church, where is the spirit of discernment? We're supposed to have the spirit of discernment. We're supposed to have the spirit of God. We're supposed to have the spirit of good. We're supposed to be able to see through the devil's schemes. Why can't we see through the devil's schemes? Because we don't even believe he's real. We know there's a figment. There's a devil, and one day there's going to be a hell. But we don't believe that he's here today, even though Timothy and David. Paul said the Antichrist is alive and real and in the world. Open your eyes. But we don't believe it. We don't believe that some sicknesses are demonic. We don't believe some of the anger, some of the, I'm going to get myself in trouble. Shut up. This is an indictment of the church. What am I talking about? We are not mature in the faith. Christians today, we're not mature in the faith. Jesus said, you're wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked, talking to the church today. At what point did we go, maybe I am wretched? Do you live in two different lives? Pitiful, poor. Do you have the blessed are the poor in spirit? Blind. We talked about this last week. Blind. We can't see with spiritual eyes. If you have spiritual eyes, you can't discern. And naked? Oh yeah, come in your Sunday best. Or come in your worst. I don't care. Is that what God's talking about? No, he's talking about spiritual clothing. He's talking about the armor of God. Hebrews 5:11-14. Miriam, please.
We have much to say about this, but it is hard to make it clear to you because you no longer try to understand.
Hello!
In fact, though by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you the elementary truths of God's Word all over again. You need milk, not solid food. Anyone who lives on milk, being still an infant, is not acquainted with the teaching about righteousness. But solid food is for the mature, who by constant use have trained themselves to distinguish good from evil.
Which if I don't have the spiritual gift, the discernment, so I'm not bound to figure out what's right or wrong. I just live my life. And as long as I don't bother anybody, I'm okay. You're a fool. If you're living your faith, but solid food is for the mature who constantly use. If you're living your faith, if you know your faith, if you know the Word, you know the truth, and the Bible has laid it out, the stuff we don't preach on hardly anymore because you preach on the stuff I've been preaching on, you don't have a good church, nobody wants to hear it. That's when you become blind, stupid, poor, naked, because you're not clothed with the truth. You're not clothed with the wisdom. You're not clothed with the knowledge. That's the spiritual clothing. We don't realize that a lot of things we say, oh man, I hear some things, the cop-outs people have, oh, it breaks my heart now. Because nobody knows how to distinguish good from evil. We don't. And that's scary. When that big delusion, the delusion, not the delusions that's actually, Jesus has shown us exactly how it's going to happen. If you go back and how people come into power, how the whole world got under a socialist power, if you look at all these things that happen, God just gave us a preview of how it's really going to happen, and nobody knows it. Because Jesus said, you know how to tell the weather, but you don't have to tell the signs of the times. What am I trying to teach us? I'm trying to teach us how to interpret the signs of the times. By the way, if you do that, don't expect to have a big church. Let's go a little bit further. The remnant of Jesus Christ is the church he's coming back for. The faithful. Mary Ann, one more time. Malachi 3:17 and 18.
On the day when I act, says the Lord Almighty, they will be my treasured possession. I will spare them just as a father has compassion and spares his son who serves him. And you will again see the distinction between the righteous and the wicked, between those who serve God and those who do not.
On the day when I act, when God sets everything in motion, when he moves even in our culture today, before the coming of the second coming, when he sets things in motion, exposing corruption, exposing false prophets, the church ain't even going to see it because we don't even know it's a God thing. Things happen in the world, God moves nations. God allows wars, and it's God's hand, and we don't get that. When God wants to punish a nation, he puts a foolish leader in charge of that nation to bring that nation down, to destroy it, but we think it's a president thing. We think it's a political party thing. No, it's the hand of God. And when the power comes along and the people are being blessed, the church is being protected, Israel is recognized, Israel's the center, it's setting up the end time. We don't even see that either. We don't even see that's prophecy being lived out. Why? Because we don't have the knowledge or discernment to realize what's going on around us. And you will again see the distinction between the righteous and the wicked, between those who serve God and those who do not. That is what I believe is truly happening in America today. That's what's happening in the world today. That is what you're going to see in the next 3 to 4 months, and it's going to change your whole worldview of everything that you've ever known and what you thought about government and politicians. It is going to change everything because God is the one who's going to show and shine the light, and he's going to make the distinction between the righteous and those who are just playing pastor. He's going to make a distinction between those who are government for you or the ones who are deceiving you and going to just show that corruption, and it's going to fall, and it ain't going to be Republican, it ain't going to be a Trump thing. This is a G-O-D, capital G thing. But we're not ready for this. So who are they? They. Who are they? They will be my treasured possession. I will spare them. Who are they? We got some Bible scholars in here. Malachi's talking about the end times. Who are they?
His church.
Huh?
His church.
His church. The church?
His church.
What do you mean by his church? You know what this is? You know what this is in the commentaries? And if you go on like Bible whatever.com, you know, see your scriptures. It puts a heading on this particular passage. It is the remnant of God's church. The remnant. The true believers. Who are on a different level. Who are fighting for the truth, living the truth, in spiritual warfare for the nation, the world. You understand? There's a different level. There's Jesus coming back for that spotless bride. Not the general churches. You get it? You get what I'm saying? He's looking for perfect people. He's got the ones who have the mind and the heart of Christ. Not that you said a prayer one time. Because I already told you that the Lord, didn't we cast out demons in your name? Didn't we prophesy? And God, I don't know you. He is coming back to that intimate relationship. Not the one who can be perfect. Not the one who doesn't give in to sin. Not the one who has you can be the remnant and still have issues. You can be the remnant and have family problems. You can be the remnant and struggle with a past and hurt and sin or depression. That's not what he's saying. Who has my heart? Who has my heart? Connect the dots, church. You're not saved because you... I know it messes with your theology if you're Baptist, and it messes with your theology if you're Baptist. Your Arminianism, your Bible, your theology, or your Calvinism. This is messing with it. Just connect the dots of all of it, and then let it fall where it falls. Who are they? The faithful remnant. That is the separation happening in America today. The Bible talks about a great falling away in the end times. It's happening. Be careful who you're listening to. And if I'm one of them, don't listen to me. Run from me if I'm that. There's also a great awakening happening at the same time. And that's coming too. Who is going to lead the world in that great awakening? Not the church. They're playing church. They're the wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. Who is the remnant? The ones who have the heart and mind of God. And that's who God's going to use to start this greatest revival the world has ever seen. In America and the world. In fact, America is going to lead it. The remnant is going to lead it. If you think going to church on Sunday morning and listen to your worship music and sing your songs and hearing your sermon is that's the way God intended church? No. Go look at Jesus' church. He was out there in the fields. They were hurting, crying. The disciples betrayed him, abandoned him, rejected him, Judas. The ones who didn't stand for him. If you got a true church leader, he's in your life. He's mentoring you. He's investing in you. If you're a leader in the church, you're a Christian, you should be doing what Christ did. Teaching people, investing in people. This is what I want us to do as a group. This is what's happening in individual parts. It's happening. The way we're going to save this world is when you and I start living it. And I mean, just be free. I did the thing at the wedding yesterday. And I told somebody here that people just kept coming. That's real. The things they said to me, I haven't even heard you say to me because they don't get to hear it every day. They get it. They heard it. You saved their marriage even before they were married. How did you know to do that, preacher? Well, I just listened to the Spirit. And so on Tuesday, I asked them, I said, Hannah, do you have a favorite verse or story in the Bible that you connect with? That like Shelley, we used Shelley's earlier, right? I am strong in His power and and she gave me her verse. And then in walks Luke. I said, Luke, is there a story in the Bible that you just connect with? That just your favorite verse, not your favorite song, or what is it? And he told me. These two are so opposites. There's no way they're going to make it. Because nobody makes it when they're that close. They're going to destroy one another. Except when you put their verses together. Why did she connect with that verse? Why did he connect with that verse? Because it's part of the plan. And his verse is that God will bring, his verse was that God's going to send you out into the world, a sheep among wolves, Luke 10:3. His name's Luke. All right, his birthday, take a guess when his birthday is.
10/3.
October 3rd. He connected with this as a kid. And that's his verse. Oh yeah, that's my verse. That wasn't by chance. And her verse wasn't by chance. See, he's a guy that is the guy, he likes staying in the shadows, he likes staying in the back, and he likes not being out on the front. You guys get it? And he's so smart, he can design a plan to build a nuclear bomb, to change. But he doesn't have her fire. He doesn't have her spirit. He doesn't have her passion. He doesn't have her faith. And if you read the context of Luke 10:3, verse 1 and 2, it says, I send out the 72, 2 by 2 pairs. He needs her. Because she's everything he's not. In her verse, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. She's got a tattoo on her. She can't run from it. He's trying to do everything in his own strength, in his own power, in his own mind, because he's got it figured out. All except people like him, guess what they don't understand? Relationships. The heart of God. Why did God put them together? Perfect match. He has the plan, she has the fire. You guys get it? I don't know to do that. All right, God, I got one chance to really encourage this couple, so give me what you need me to give them. I've never asked another couple before. I told David about it. He said, I like that. Yeah, that's some good stuff. Where'd you learn that? I didn't. The Spirit told me. You guys get it? Where are Christians who live in the Spirit every day? Where is it? Not that you can do a list of don't do this, do this. Where do you live in the Spirit? That's who Jesus is going to use. That's what he's going to back for. That is intimacy. And maybe it was luck on my part. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a fool. But you guys get what I'm trying to tell you? Man, we could be here all day with what I got to give you. I want they to be you. I want they to be me. And is there a fear that you're not saved to walk out here? Well, if that's what you're thinking and that's what you heard, you did not hear my sermon, okay? What I'm saying is, many are called, but few are chosen. And who are chosen? The ones who actually get it. The ones who are willing to sacrifice and obey and to let God have them and use them. This is deeper. There's what's happening in our world, what's happening in our country. There's a guy named Mark Taylor. He's a guy, he was a fireman. He's known as the fireman prophet. He's actually famous around the world now. He's one of the guys that years before Trump was elected said Trump was going to be elected, and he laid everything out in word. And many other things he's laid out. And the way you tell a true prophet, does he call himself a prophet? No. He's just an average guy who one day lost everything. His health, his life, everything. Remember I told you, we finished the first year of Frontline being open, we were the third largest Wesleyan church in this state. Man, I had to cast me out. Man, they were coming to me and me teaching them how to do stuff. And I lost everything. Why did I lose everything? Why did I have to lose everything? It was working beautifully. Sometimes guys got to pour some stuff out so you can put some stuff in you, right? How many times, why are you went through the brokenness in your life? Why have you hit rock bottom in your life? Why are you facing things right now? It is to teach you, to equip you, so God can put stuff in you, so God can use you. Praise Jesus, hallelujah. You're going to praise God one day, not because you had it easy. You're going to praise God that you went through all the hard stuff, baby. You're going to thank Jesus for all the stuff that you hated one day. That childhood, that relationships. Mark my word. Wait. Mark Taylor, fix to put up here. He wrote a prophecy, and this is what I've been trying to teach us as a group. And he nailed it this week when I heard what he said. I'm gonna read it to you. Let me get to it here. I need to drink water. And this is biblical. The Spirit of God says, who do you think you are? He's talking to Christians, church leaders, church pastors, the government leaders. Who do you think you are? Who call yourself Christians, but further Satan's kingdom? If you're a Christian, all I see in you is hate, anger, division. What are the fruits of the Spirit again? What are the fruits of the enemy? I don't have to ask who's right or wrong. You don't got to tell me your story. I see your fruit. I see your fruit. You guys get this? Look at it in the Spirit, baby. Woe, you who call yourselves Christians, but further Satan's kingdom. Woe, woe, woe to you leaders who stand in the way of my agenda, but call yourselves mine, you brood of vipers. My divine judgment is being poured out on the leaders of my United States of America and my church. You leaders who won't open borders, who attack and pray against my anointed men and women, sow division and strife among the people. You hypocrites, repent. My righteous judgment is falling now. You who indulge in the corrupt things of this world for power and greed, you who call yourself leaders, America's leaders, yes, even my church leaders, I will not only remove your authority and position, some I'll remove you from the face of this earth. Repent before it's too late, for my righteous judgment has fallen and on those who have mocked, deceived, and led my people astray. For many are about to find out what the spirit of the fear of the Lord and the one true God is. That pastor who ain't preaching the whole truth, but he's preaching what makes you happy and keeping his numbers up, keeping the money in. God's just love, but you don't have to live differently. You don't have to live to a standard that you're not called to change. Those pastors are in trouble. Those pastors made an agreement with the government. They're 1.4 to 1.6 million strong. You made it to support the government, that they would turn over their church leaders. Now, this was done under a different regime of presidents, not this president. Well, they made an agreement to turn over their church people who has guns in their congregations and to go to them that when the time comes to take the guns from. But Jeff, Revelation says it's going to happen. How close were we to that?
Close.
You have no idea. But there's a war in the heavenlies. Now, are you sure there's a war in heaven? Ephesians 6:12. Dave, you read for me?
For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms.
How many times have we heard that one? 10,000 times? 1,000 times? 5,000? Our struggle is not against flesh and blood. Our fight is not each other. All right? But against the rulers and against the authorities. Those are government. That's that deep government, that hidden government. That's their out front government. Against the powers of this dark world that has control of the government. Has control, not just the government, but the church government. Oh. And against the power, spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Is there evil? Are the people that smile at you deceiving you? Deceiving us? The people that we voted for, that we put our faith in, our trust in, could they have been deceiving us?
And for the international order that we have worked for generations to build.
International order, generations to build.
Men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
Play it again.
And for the international order that we have worked for generations to build. Ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
You see where I took this from? Government.gov. This is not a manufactured video. This is right off the White House website. Now, what international order? New World Order. Illuminati. And you can't make your own decision? No, you're not. You're too small-minded. We have to govern you, and you need to submit to it. Does that not read like the end times? Does that not read what's to come? And where was this actually spoken at? An international gathering. World leaders. So what's real? You're in it for us, President, or are you in it for them? You guys get what I'm saying? Now, should the church stand? Where should the church stand on this? This is a pastor from America. He was recently.
Yeah.
He was recently over. He was recently over in Rome. He's standing inside the Colosseum, and he says something really important. I like this guy.
Yes, we are entertained as a culture with our violence. Violence is everywhere in our culture.
Yeah.
We're chewing people up. We're chewing people up emotionally on social media, shaming people. We're chewing people up, bullying people in our school grounds. We're chewing people up and brutalizing people in our sporting events, MMA, NFL, riots. We execute people left and right in our prisons. You know what? Any one of these things may be okay. I'm not trying to pick a fight in any of these. I know I've got some MMA fans who are awesome, but I'm a football fan. I'm not trying to pick a fight in any of these. I'm just saying, can we not realize we're out of control? We're crushing one another. We're not healing one another. We're not giving one another life. We're hurting one another. One of the marks of an empire that's gone dark, a mark of an empire that's going to go away, that's going to be killed, is when we glorify killing each other. This is why Jesus says, if you live by the sword, you will die by the sword. And we are dying, we are crushing one another, and this is not the way that God would have us be. This is not the values of the eternal empire of the kingdom of God, because our King, his name is Jesus. He loves and he heals and restores. We better be pretty darn cognizant that we're losing something in our culture. We're losing the very heart of God.
Yeah. This is basically where I'm going to kind of end this for today. Part 2 will be next week. But listen to me. He's right. When Jesus made a point. You either for me or you're against me. You know that, all that, right? And he says, if you are friends with this world. I did this sermon 2 years ago, whatever it was. If you're friends with the world, meaning if you're a Christian and you have sworn allegiance to Christ, you have surrendered your heart, soul, body, and mind to him. His teachings, his way, his will, his plan. But yet, the very thing the Bible speaks against, you align yourselves with them in this world, politically. If God says abortion is wrong, and you align yourself with a group, a government group, an entity that says it's okay, you have now become the biblical definition of friends with the world. Not when you go out and make friends with a sinner or a drunk or a person who's not living the right kind of life. It's not talking about that kind of friend. It means you have made an alliance with the very things that are against my word. You are now my enemy. When Black Lives Matter came on the scene, it sounded like a good plan. Until you want to kill cops. Until you divide in America. Until you're leading the riots in the streets. Again, what? Tested by the Spirit of God. What were the fruits of the Spirit, Dave?
Love, joy, long-suffering.
Do it louder, do it louder, do it louder.
Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, meekness, gentleness.
Rotting, burning, killing, against authority, resistance, rebellion. You don't got to ask the preacher, is what's going on in our government today right or wrong? You just got to balance against the Spirit of God. Where are those things? And if that group doesn't have those things, and if they're dividing America, if they're dividing the blacks against the whites, the women against, you don't even have to ask where the heart and spirit of what we're dealing with is. Okay? The most important part of the sermon is what's going to come next week. All right? But the history, I'm going to do one more slide here. The history, the war in the Heavenlies. History and the Bible are clear. The enemy that we face. Okay? This is the spirit of Jezebel, the spirit of Ahab, those that worship the god Baal. So my enemy isn't even the person who doesn't agree with me. My enemy isn't even that witch who has different beliefs than me. He's deceived as much as anything else. You understand what I'm getting at here, right? The real enemy is we are fighting is the spirit of the god of Baal, the kingdom of Satan, which is Luciferianism. I'm not sure if that's a real word or not, but I'll put it up there anyway. Luciferianism. All right? This is what's going on. They call it global, new world order, one world order, Illuminati, deep state, cabal. They got all kind of names for it. This is the spirit that we are fighting against in our modern day, and our modern day Cyrus. I believe that Trump, unbeknownst to him, and unbeknownst to us, we've been living out Bible prophecy. We have been repeating in the church, in the world, what has already been lived in the nation of Israel. We're not a replacement for that, but we're paralleling certain stories. When God's people were under attack, when they were being oppressed, which was happening here and happening around the world, because who was going to the aid of the Christians when ISIS was killing over 1 million of them? Nobody. Who would have done that? America. Who would have led that in the past? America. Who will lead that now? America. So God put Cyrus in power. You want to read about Cyrus? It's Isaiah 45. All right? President Trump is President what? 45. When you start, the Bible works a lot in numbers. Again, learn how to study the Bible. Learn the patterns. Learn the dates. Learn the festivals that she grew up learning. Because these festivals, it's amazing what actually happens in that month or that week in your own life. That if you knew the Jewish holiday, man, that's the holiday they celebrate right now. And I just reconciled with my dad. There's a lot of things that power going on in the spiritual world that we've never been taught in the American church. I believe President Trump, in his position, God put him as a Cyrus. And also there's a guy called Jehu in 2 Kings chapter 9. I love you. I know you had to leave. I'm not going to be done in 1 minute, but I love you, baby. All right. Go home and read these two stories. Isaiah chapter 45. He actually talks about it a little bit in 43, the chapter before. But the book of Jehu. Jehu, anybody know who Jehu is? He's the king of Israel. Ahab, Jezebel tried to take power. The son took power, and Jehu was the one who was not a believer. I can teach this sermon if you want me to, because this is good. All right, he was the one that rose up against Jeroboam, or however you say it, and anyway, did I put the first part? This is as far as I'm going. The next one, go to the next one. All right, Jezebel was Satan's anointed. Jehu was God's anointed. Go ahead. 2 Kings 9:22. Go ahead. When Jeroboam saw Jehu, as he asked, "Have you come in peace, Jehu?" "How can there be peace?" Jehu replied, "as long as all the idolatry and witchcraft of your mother Jezebel abounds." So Jehu's going, I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to back down. I'm going to ride into town. And this guy was as rough as Trump. He was as on the edges. But you know who Jehu aligned himself with in that day? The conservative Christians. The conservative Jewish people of that day. And they were going to remove her from power. Because he knew he was to remove that nation from under that oppression of Jezebel. Of not Jezebel, but actually it's Baal, it's Satan. God's about to break that power over our country. And when it says that your son and daughters are going to prophesy, we're going to see that very soon. Old men dream dreams, this is going to happen. You guys get this is where we're at in biblical history? But you've listened, why does the media, why do people hate Trump? Why do they devise schemes? Why do the nations rage? The very ones that are going to be exposed are the very ones crying against him right now. Don't believe what you're seeing on your TV. You know what you need to do? You need to look at the Word of God and judge it by the Spirit of God that's in you. All right. Part 2 of this will be next week. It gets really deep and really good, and I'm going to lay it. I've been telling you I'm going to lay it all out, and now we're getting there. But I love y'all. I believe in what we're doing as a church. But to do those things, you're going to face the same opposition that a Trump will face, or the same opposition the church faced in the beginning, where they were different. They were made fun of. They were rejected. People thought they were weird. They burned them in the streets with Nero, right, in Rome. All right, I don't think they're going to burn us in the streets, but here's the deal. God says that the remnant, the ones who absolutely capture his heart and spirit, are going to change the world. The vision, not knowing it then, we were built for this. God had to send the right people. And how did the right people become the right people? Most of us have to go through some things and heal. Now you know the truth. Now you know the way to change. Now it's no longer about you. Now there's a deeper intimacy between you and God. God knows what he's doing with our group. Don't believe what you see. Don't believe what people say. Trust the Holy Spirit and what he's doing in you, okay? Let's pray. Lord, I love you. Lord, I thank you. Lord, I thank you for, you said that those who have ears hear and eyes see. God, open our eyes, open our ears. Reveal to us what's hidden from us. Reveal to us in the Spirit. When we hear something on TV, we know if it's of God. We know if it's of the enemy. God, when we meet people on the street, may we be able to see that person needs love. That person needs an investment. That person needs a friend. God, open our eyes to it. And it is you. It is you. God, don't let us stay the wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. And God, all of us have been that at some point in our life, if not today. But God, grow us. Lord, may we not be the one lacking spiritual maturity. May we not be the one who's easily deceived. That may we be the one that you come back for. That you will say one day, well done, my good and faithful servant. Well, let us be that different kind of church. But the church only becomes different when the Christians in it become different. The heart is different. Their spirit is different. The love is different. God, teach us in your Spirit what that means. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Love you guys. Part 2. And then I can't believe I didn't go out. I'm going to keep you here at 10 o'clock tonight.